So we're going to talk about the five biggest mistakes yoga teachers make, which I'm very excited about. So let's jump in. What is like your one biggest mistake that you see them make?
Well, so if we rewind just a little bit, it's like I think part of what happens is that people make some of these mistakes because they haven't necessarily been trained to understand what they're doing, right? In terms of and the consequences of some of these things. So this is where, and I know like we were talking about a little bit also in terms of being able to address what trainings don't offer that would be great for them to be able to offer. So
Mhm.
essentially one of the big things that makes a mistake at the very beginning is offering classes for free when it's really not going to behoove them or the students to be able to have those classes for free. Now, I know we
Mm.
want to give from our hearts, and that's a beautiful place to give from. And then at the same time, it becomes understanding that it actually isn't a service to be offering these things for free. It doesn't help the students learn how to give and to have the reciprocity that's necessary to be able to understand value and be able to connect in that way. And also from a place of understanding that you do have value. You just spent a lot of money on teacher training. Like, let's be real, right? This is part of what our mastery is, what we're starting to learn and start to develop for ourselves.
That makes sense. And going into the teacher training thing, how do you think that, what do you wish was included in your teacher training?
Well, yeah, so that's part of that. I did study marketing and advertising in college. And one of the things I noticed is even though we develop the skills to be a teacher, depending on obviously your teacher training, because not all teacher trainings are, um, there isn't such an emphasis on understanding what to do with what you've just learned. Like, how do you turn that into a business, right? So there's a couple things in terms of one is understanding that now you are a business owner, right? You are a yoga business owner as a yoga teacher. You're an entrepreneur. You're on your own per se, but it's really powerful and really important for us to understand that we are more than just a yoga teacher at this point, because we do, if we want to spread our love and influence as many people as possible in the most positive way of sharing yoga, then we have to be able to understand that we need to see ourselves as a business owner and then get trained as a yoga business. What does it mean to own a yoga business? How do I become a business owner? So
Mm.
part of why I teach what I teach is because of the fact that, even in my 300-hour teacher training, I do include this aspect and this bundle of being able to offer the business aspect of it, which is kind of like its own little yoga MBA, if you will.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's kind of why I created the summit, is because that's like such a big gap. And we covered business module in my teacher training, but it was like turn up to class on time, like, make sure you don't go over, and like all of these really basic things that you're like, this only applies if I'm going to be working in a studio, and it not really doesn't really empower you
Right.
as your own business owner. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that's missing a lot of the time.
Oh, and thank you for putting together the summit. That's really special that you saw that need, because I speak to a lot of yoga teachers that feel defeated and that they're just like, I can't, I don't really see this as a viable business or in a career that I could do full time because I can't make enough money. And I'm like, right, well, between donation classes and teaching at a yoga studio, that's only a small chunk that
Mm,
you need to think bigger. You need to
mm,
see, you have to be able to expand your capacity and your possibilities, because the beauty of what we teach is that everybody can do yoga in some capacity,
mm,
in whether
mm,
mental aspect, breathing, whether it's the physical practice, right? It's philosophical. There's so many different ways for people to practice yoga that, and we know that everybody needs yoga. So it just
mm.
becomes like, what a great way to offer this as a beautiful, like to actually make it a career, not just because it's your calling, but also because it is possible. I've done it for
Mm,
24 full time as a yoga teacher. It is
mm,
possible. You could do it.
mm. That's very empowering. I love that. I was just thinking a lot of teacher trainings probably miss some of the other aspects in terms of philosophy. Like you could just teach philosophy and you could just teach pranayama. Like they're very, from my experience, is often very asana focused, and then you've got to learn all the cueing and like everything about the specific like posture, and then the other bits kind of get like added on as bonus modules, and you go, oh, that's very interesting, but you only kind of scratch the surface a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that in my teacher training also, it's like there's this, I focus so much on the philosophy because I know that guess what? We're going to get older and we're not going to be able to do those cool poses, myself included,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're going to get injured and not be able to practice physically. And if all our practice is focused on us nailing the handstand, well, then that means like gymnasts should be enlightened, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not. Like one doesn't equate the other. It's not causal. But the inner philosophy is, so when you like really mold and massage the philosophy into your studies, into your practice, and into your teachings, it just skyrockets in its next level. It's really
Mm-hmm.
what you can provide as a yoga teacher, because that's the other part of it is what we forget is it's not just now I'm just going to go teach asana classes in inhale up, exhale down. There's so much power in understanding the connection and relationships that you're building in the class. So, and that's part of under business, but also understanding like heart to heart, like connecting with your students before and after class, how to do that. So you know how to hold space. Like you said, you're taught yoga poses, you do this, then you do a sequence. But that's just like, I mean, if we pull away all the whistles and bells, what is it? It's an exercise. It's a fitness class. It's here and here, my body's moving, but it's not. There's so much more that we could be sinking our teeth into and sinking our hands into that helps the student also feel more connected. And like a student told me, he was like, I feel like I just came out of church. I was like, great. Yeah, that's your own inner church. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I think that probably ties into mistake number 2 a little bit, as in thinking that you're only a yoga teacher. So you're also an entrepreneur. But yoga teaching could look like different things. You're not only teaching asana as well.
Correct.
So that's,
Well, yeah.
and then, yeah. Oh, sorry, go.
No, absolutely. It just
Yeah.
immediately that you have different hats to wear and
Yeah.
not pulling yourself into what it is, because that also transitions, I think is what you're about to say, into the imposter syndrome, right? Is
Yeah.
like, obviously none of us are enlightened. Like I'm not enlightened, right? Like let's be real. Yoga teachers, but if we understand the scope of what we're teaching, we're in a small pocket of where we are, whether it is asana based, breathing based, meditation based, wherever you are, philosophy based, but we have to be honest with ourselves and honest with our students. So by having that transparency and that understanding of teaching within your scope and understanding the different hats you're going to have to play, then there's no reason to be an imposter, because you're just doing what you can the best you can and you're connecting. And at the end of the day, it's all about the connection. So it really,
That makes sense.
yeah. And the reason we get imposter syndrome as a yoga teacher, one is because we know we don't know, right? Which is exactly what the philosophy should be, is we understand that we don't understand the bigger picture, but at least we're trying. So that's actually very humbling. So instead of making it about imposter, it's more about understanding that it's being humble and saying, I don't know, is actually the most powerful, smart, intelligent, genius thing you could say, is admitting when, because then hopefully stay curious. So the other part of it is, A, we're not supposed to know everything. B, stay curious so that you keep wanting to learn more. Like be that student all as much as possible, and you're going to be able to learn more and then master more of what you're learning. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I guess you want to invite people to come on a journey with you and be honest about where you're at in that journey, rather than trying to be like, look, I know all this stuff, come and learn from me.
Correct. Because
Yeah.
you will grow more by being able to do that, and connect more by being able to do that. And you're going to end up, there will be things that you know more of. And then that step in, but that keeps you really honest, grounded, and stable throughout the process.
Nice. And I think then that brings us nicely into number 4. So people are not understanding the importance of the pre and post class connections. So how do you see that as people making those sort of mistakes?
So I see a lot of teachers come in, sit down, start teaching, and then finish class, get up, and go outside. Like, there isn't that like before class, if you do not, like, I implore you, the difference that will happen when you see a face that you do not know, it's a new student. Hi, what's your name? My name is Rina. Nice to meet you. And like eye to eye, imagining that you're here with me, Adrian, and just like tuning into that person in that one moment and being present. What that person feels, because think about the rest of their day, right? So like, let's zoom out for a second. I'm gonna give you like a little bit of a zoom out. You zoom out and you think about what other hour of the day does anyone not be attached to their phones? Even when they're sleeping, their phones are next to them, right? And the last thing they're seeing at night is some random post on social media or whatever the fudge, and then putting it down. And then they wake up and we're so attached to our phones, let's be honest, that the 1 hour they're in your yoga class is like such a sacred, beautiful hour. So make it deep as you can make it, which means, but when they walk in, I don't care if this person's come to your class 20 times and you should know their names by now and you don't. Go ask the front desk, what's their name? Go up to and be like, hi, Adrienne, nice to meet you. Or not, nice to see you again. Do you have any injuries I should know about? I know we haven't really checked in. Start saying their name. Start connecting, getting to know what are their injuries, what their requests are, why they're in yoga. Get to know the people beforehand. Start creating, and that's how you build community. With community is how wanting to come back to your classes. It's a win-win. In addition, it helps out not only you, but the studio so that it survives. Because as an owner of, previous owner of 4 studios, you need your teachers to do part of the selling. You have to be of that salesperson that isn't icky. It's something nice you're giving people, right? You're not scamming them. You're helping them. So making that as authentic and pure as possible, where you interact with them before class, and it takes like 10 seconds. You'd be surprised. Like just teaching on Wednesday, I taught a class. I was subbing for a teacher. I haven't taught at a studio in a long time. I've been doing other things. But I went around, I got everybody's name, and then I stood at the front of class and I said every single person's name. And everyone was like, how did you do that? And it's a skill, right? It's awesome. And faces light up. It's like when you hear your name, you're like, oh, teacher's paying attention. She knows me. And then at the end of the class, you really want to make sure that you are taking it. Don't just get up and leave. Sit on the mat for a moment. Hold space. That's like the nectar that you just created the nectar with them. Shavasana, they come up and there's the pause before the life comes flooding in again, all the externals. They finally went within, right? What is everyone looking for in life? Everybody is looking for what? Love, happiness, joy, peace, safety, right? Everyone's looking for that. Everybody might be looking in different places for it, but we know as yogis that it is impossible to find those things outside of yourself. You can find them within. And when can they go within? In that 1 hour of yoga, or an hour and a half, or however long your class is, of yoga with you. So you are the conduit through which you are connecting with them to help them feel safe, loved, supported, peaceful, all the things. That's your purpose, is to help them learn that they can find it within themselves. So understanding pre and post, that's part of it, is after class connecting, taking that minute, that moment to just sit at the front of mat, in the front of the class, and just hold space. Let them start to roll up their mats and walk out. You don't have to get up and walk out. And then that creates now the students start to talk after class. There's more connection. Well, it's so beautiful what starts to happen after class, because they're self, right? At their best selves, and then it's gonna be like, okay, sayonara. No, keep it, collect it, back to it.
That's beautiful, and it makes sense, and help them hold on to that a little bit longer as well, and feel that sense of community, and that they just went through something with other people as well, which, like you said, mentioning with the phones, we sort of lose that person to person communication so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then it's like a sense of the fact that after class too is the moment they step out of the class, it's like a flooding, like everyone just goes back into their busy schedules, and allowing,
Mm-hmm.
if you give permission for them to not do that, they will take it. Those that want that extra time will take it, and they'll come and ask you questions. How do I do this? What do I do? And now
Mm-hmm.
getting that rapport that's going to make people feel safe around you and trust you. It's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
thing. That's how
Yeah,
people
that's really
act.
beautiful.
You grow, the students grow, the studio grows, and
Yeah.
we can't keep looking to the externals, right? No viral yoga video is going to have the same impact as you connecting to that one student one-on-one, that they're
Mm-hmm.
going to tell 10 of their friends how amazing that teacher is and bring those people. It's
Yeah.
so much more powerful. It really is. And it's really
Yeah.
the center of what we're doing.
Yeah. Definitely. And with marketing as well, like you said, that just from the, if you're going to go in the entrepreneurial hat moment, that networking, that kind of thing, that's so much more powerful than, like you said, like going viral or anything like that. That just like that heart connection means so much more to people.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Marketing is still, you're building relationships. It's still the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Building relationships for a different purpose, per se. You're not on the yoga mat, but you're helping see it from a different perspective, because that's part of what yoga trainings don't teach, is also that usually don't teach, is that aspect of helping you learn how to think like an entrepreneur, right? What
Mm-hmm.
it takes for you to think like an entrepreneur, and it is possible to learn it. It's all skills. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I started to realize, like, I'm bundling my 300-hour teacher training with my business program platform, because it's not just, yes, us deepening how to be a teacher, because that's important, but that with learning how to execute a business strategy for yourself and start walking for yourself is so empowering. It's so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to go from like the beginning of the program, like, I don't know what to do, where to go, like lack of direction, to like opening up a space, or partnering with schools, or getting in festivals, or like finding that vision of how they want to keep building their purpose. So it's the strategy you can do over and over again.
Yeah. And I think that also brings us very nicely into our last big mistake, which is thinking that the market's really saturated and that they shouldn't teach. So if you're looking at all these festivals or events or studios and you're like, there's so many teachers, like, I'll never get in that festival. There's so many. Like, why is that a mistake? Why are you wrong in thinking that?
Because there's 7 billion people or 8 billion people, right? World, and it's not about getting to everyone. That's a big mistake that we make. It's not about getting to everyone. It's about getting to the right people. And so learning the market, learning how to put yourself in the right kinds of partnerships, the right kind of connections. No one in the world is like you. No one in the world is like me, right? There's 8 billion different ways of, if we're going to go into philosophy here, right? There's the 3 gunas, the rajas, the tamas, and the sattva. And those 3 mental temperaments have, each one of our minds has a different proportion and percentage of each one, even if there's 8 billion people, right? So knowing that there's just, everyone has their different thing, their different nature, their different way that is unique to them, you have to follow that nature. You have to follow it for yourself, because that's one of the philosophical truths that says you're going to find lasting happiness and peace when you are living with your nature and not against it, right? So often we start doing jobs because our parents say we do, or society says I should, but we don't ever follow our own path. And teaching yoga is usually has to do with you following your own path and going against the grain and against the herd. And it's not a popular thing because it kind of looks like this woo-woo whatever thing. But when you really start to follow it and know that this is your calling, your ability to see that there's not going to be anyone else like you, focus on your own lane. If you're thinking about the saturation of the market, where are you? Outside of yourself. You're thinking of everyone else, and you're on Instagram being like, well, this person has 100,000 followers. Trust me when I tell you that no matter how many followers someone has nothing to do with how happy they are inside. It doesn't equate success with followers. It is not a 1 + 1 = 2 equation. In fact, there's a lot of things that aren't shown from behind the scenes that people struggle with on a daily basis to maintain that kind of followers.
Mm.
So it becomes really important for you to center yourself in your nature, in your truth, get your niche, really ground yourself, and keep thinking about quality and not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Find the right people. You really will, but you have to stay in and stay true to yourself. And if you start hearing gossip about this or that, or this person's doing this, this is how you respond to that. Good for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That teacher's growing. Good. More yoga for everyone. You will find,
Mm-hmm.
be at peace with that. But if you still keep staying out here and thinking about everyone else, you're going to drive yourself crazy and end up getting defeated because your mind defeated you, not because everybody else did. Your own mind defeated. And so you are unique. You have a gift. You have to harness it, expand it, channel it, and connect. And it will have a beautiful impact, not only on those that you touch, but on yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think there's so much in that in terms of your own yoga practice and teaching, and also being an entrepreneur as well, because neither of those things are the mainstream that everyone's going to do. And a lot of people around you are probably not going to understand either of them. And you're like, I'm doing both. So you've really got to, like you said, focus on your mind and really stick to your own path and and keep going as well. And you're right, there's so many other things that if you look at the surface of other people's businesses and you're like, oh, they're so amazing, you don't know what's underneath of that as well. And you don't know where they started. They could have $1 million and a husband that's a marketing expert or something, you know?
Yeah,
You can't compare yourself to that.
right. And what will keep you grounded and stable through this whole process is if you haven't dived deeper into the philosophy. The philosophy is the anchor. All the teachings are there. We have to discover them for ourselves. And it's also, you know, kind of why I've loved that I've like, after all these years, I mean, I've been in this industry for 24 years. And in the last couple of years is when I've shifted to helping yoga teachers with this. I was realizing, I was like, I thought everybody just knew these things, right? And then when I started yoga teachers, I was like, oh, they don't. You don't, not just something that is a known thing or is taught. So I was like, okay, I think it's my turn to share what it is that is what's luckily graciously has helped me and maintain my career, is like, these are the steps, these are the strategies, these are the skills you need to develop. And so coupled obviously being able to deepen your teaching is just going to be a win-win. And it really is possible. And so I'm grateful for what you're put together. And I guess the only thing is like, if this is why it's like with the 300-hour training, a lot of people do the 200-hour training and then they don't know which one to do for 300-hour. If you are interested in doing a 300-hour training that adds this program, the bundling of the business part, I'm happy to connect with you. You can DM me, you can reach out to me. Email me, rina@rinayoga.com, or find me at the summit and connect with me there, because there's just so many possibilities of it is possible. And it's also like a coaching program where I'm available, I answer questions. It's like, I'm right here with you, just like you're experiencing right now.
Awesome. I love that. And yes, definitely reach out to Rina if that sounds like something you want to learn more about. And if you want to learn even more from her, this weekend we've got the summit. She's on day 1 and she's going to be talking more about how to create like a multi-stream yoga business and what that kind of looks like. And we sort of cover a little bit of what we did here, but it's definitely a different angle, and love that. So who should come and watch your presentation? Like to ask.
Well, anyone and everyone who is open, but I would definitely, yoga teachers, whether you're 200-hour or 300 hours, sometimes we lose our way in terms of like, we kind of get a little jaded by all the things. And so to reignite that spark as to why you're doing what you're doing. So, you know, if that's you, in addition to wanting to get inspired about how to then really learn how to grow your business and see that it is possible to have all these different legs in different places and limbs, not just the 8 limbs here, but the 8 limbs in business. It would be to you to be able to learn from that foundation. And also, if you're signed up for the summit, it's a good foundation mindset that I'll be helping you with to maintain throughout the whole weekend. So if it starts to get overwhelming or daunting, kind of that video helps to keep your mindset in the right place while you're building that out for yourself and you're growing and learning from everybody. Because, you know, we can learn from everybody. We have to be open and seeing what works for us.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Awesome. Thank you for that invitation. And if anyone is watching and they haven't signed up, you can go to allmatstaken.com and you can get the links from either of us. And we hope to see you there and carry on this conversation and journey. Rina's also in the Facebook group, so you can ask her any questions as well in there that you might have. Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. And I look forward to chatting to you more in the coming weeks.
Beautiful. Me too. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Keep it up.
See ya.
So much.
Have a good night.